Wow, that's strong, man. I heard that in my headphone. Tones, frequencies, sounds, harmonics. Man, it's a language all to itself, is it not? It's an alphabet. And you get to know it, it'll change your life. How are you, everyone? So good to see everyone. Robert, good to see you, baby. David Berry, hello. Swampside, hello. Sabrina, T Boone TV, hello. Good to see you. Wow, welcome. Hello, all the moderators. The Master Troy, hello. Good Lord, there's just a lot of people in here. Did you have a great, strong end of the week? I hope so. Hey, we only have so many days, so live it to its fullest. Just invoking favor in all of us. We can all use favor. I saw today 3 different times where favor was manifested on my behalf. I didn't have to do anything. In fact, I was needing to get an appointment for Saturday, and I had a specific time. I won't tell you until I get the end of the story, but so called up there. There was only one appointment left, and it was the exact time that I was wanting. Eh, go figure. So nothing missing, nothing broken be found in your life. Man, again, as I said, if you're going to speak, and we all do, you know, speak the very best to you. It allows you to be much more friendlier and to speak well of others. Yeah, I see time sometime. I don't know, figure it out. So happy birthday to those who are having one and anniversaries as well. To Wednesday, Trina will be on. Always excited for the second look. It is good. Nick is going to be on. Nick Rule 333 will be on next Friday night. Yeah, I'm going to do a rare evening show. Yeah. So if you want to join us, it'll be compelling listening. And I'm looking forward to it. So, world's changing, man. And I'm telling you what, woo! So, got a lot to cover. So, I'm going to get right into it. Thank you for everyone stepping in. Hi, Angie, Marguerite, Karen, McGruffy 44. Good to see you. Lost in Space. Hello, Joyce R. Are you serious? Yes. Jeannie Griffin, good to see you. Jill Jarrett, hello. And Trina, how are you doing, my dear? So good to see you. Well, folks, let's get right into this. So let's set the foundation for the discussion. And we all here like to, well, keep everyone intellectually honest. I mean, this is a good group here. Hello, Dave. How are you doing? Robin, good to see you as well. Nina the Mystic, love it. Good to see you. So thank you, Trina. Um, and when we're in here to study, so we have to have, the baseline of what we're going to be discussing. In this one is called the Infected Human Hive Collective Consciousness. And outside, I would say 2 things, either a cataclysmic event that Earth does itself or something that comes from outside in. The only other likely scenario is that man will self-annihilate. We do a pretty good job on it. You think about World War One, two, three. Why do we keep count of them? That's what I want to know. Make love, not war, baby. Pace. That's all I got to say. We look at ourselves and we take so much for granted. And we never stop and think about it because it would shock the collective consciousness, literally, if we were to discuss the real, very likely reality that we live in, and that is we've been conquered by a virus. Now, biologists will tell you, and those in the biology field will tell you, in essence, man has always been conquered by viruses. Viruses kill us. They destroy our food. You look at the natural process of how decay takes place. All of that is in an organic state, and we are in an organic state. So we're constantly having to fight off viruses. Uh, Doctors will tell you that today, modern man stands at the precipice of the abyss of literally falling into what could only be an abyss of viruses on our bodies right now. Your immune system is keeping at bay the very things that are on you, bacterium, viruses, it just covers the full gamut, that when your immune system is suppressed, literally the feeding frenzy starts. If we carry this forward in our analysis and begin to look at a virus, now, astrobiologists will tell you that the most likely extraterrestrial life bombards the earth every day. We're literally saturated with, as they say, billions of viruses coming in from the cosmic universe. There is a thought that has been around for a while. It's been written on more and more that this virus came here about 7,000 years ago. And we are no more aware of it than if it hadn't been here. The only difference is that man, us, Homo sapiens, when you measure it out and you look at where our first records that we have of a written language, symbols, cuneiform, which would be the Sumerians, and you look at their social, economic, cultural structure, and you compare where they were at, the greatest innovators man has ever known were the Sumerians. They invented the wheel, they invented agriculture, irrigation, sailing. Um, the list goes on and on. So if you take that as the baseline and measure man to today in the year 2019, if that's what it is, who knows? We don't even know what day it is. Uh, Seriously, we don't. We assume that it's Monday because that's what we're told. But you have to understand calendars for the common man were not available 200 years ago. Anyway, I digress. So if we look at that scale and let's assign a value to the IQ of that day in Sumeria. So what? Now, they were geniuses. We've discussed this, the ziggurats, but let's just give them a baseline of 100. All right. Extremely conservative, easy number to keep in our algebraic equation here that we're working out. Now, we assign another value of intelligence increase. Let's say we add 1 point to each 100 years. Okay? Pretty easy. So for every 1,000 years, you can see that there would be a value of 10. And in this case, if we are, and we're being very conservative here, and let's say that we're looking at a base of 80 is what we would be adding to the IQ. The average IQ is not here. Let's go back and look at lifespans. It was said that there was a race of man that had the genes that were long lived. But let's just say that we add the same value, 100, and people lived to be 100 years back then, much longer, in fact. And we add the same values, that would be 80, to our marker, modern man, 2019. That means we should be living at least to 180 years. It's going backwards. What happened? We were making huge strides. And I'm just using the Sumerians. You know, that's some of the earliest we have. We can talk about the Egyptian. We can talk about the Chinese. We can talk about India. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, where they were at technologically, we've had 8,000 years. We should be freaking mind geniuses, but we're not. What's happened? Well, if you take the theme that this virus was of the hive mentality, and so we use that in going forward, all right? So we've asked this before. People don't answer it. It always amazes me when, I do these presentations and I give direct questions, how very few ever answer them. Had a person I had to let go. I tell them, go, because they were intellectually dishonest. When you don't ask a direct question and you continue to deflect, you're intellectually dishonest. All right, so where do your thoughts originate from? Do you think they originate from you? Ask yourself that question. Is something pre-programming your thoughts before you can actually give verbalization to it? Some say all thought comes from the hive. There is no original thought. Everything is repeated, regurgitated, rehashed, recycled, reincarnated. No original thought resides in the mind of man. Many today in psychology, in philosophy, even in science itself, now admit the internet is the virus, or it's at least a virus for sure. And you're going to see how every one of us are infected. I am, you are. There is no one exempt. None. And if they say they are, well, they're just like the slave who thinks that they're not a slave. Your mind has a virus, and you need to get rid of it. The problem is the rate of reinfection is almost 100%. It is a well-known, understood knowledge that even God, the thought of God, is nothing more than a mind virus. No God has ever manifested itself before mankind, humanity. Now we have all the different threads out there. I get that. But the whole idea and concept of God is a mind virus. So what is a mind virus? Well, a mind virus pertaining to any thoughts or idea or ideas or problems that cause an individual to devote an inordinate amount of time thinking or acting upon the aforementioned thoughts, ideas, or problems. Mind viruses typically cause all other work to cease unless A, the idea is completely thought out, B, the problem is solved, C, interaction from an individual who has not been affected by the mind virus intervenes or provides an immediate solution to the idea. Now, you have to think of this in pods. Any of you who do, employee organization, you're taught that. I continue. Mind viruses are very contagious, especially in individuals who work in scientific, engineering, or philosophical communities. Viruses can spread via email, web pages, and word of mouth. There is no absolute cure that is currently available in prescription or over-the-counter pills. The ideas on creating a successful DARPA challenge entry has caused many engineers, by the thought that DARPA was trying to counter this, to contract a mind virus. Yeah. Those of you who work in the corporate structure and particular disciplines, particular industries by segment, think about this. Now, any person can begin to go out and do a cursory search, go to the Great Oracle, pay your vows, and the Oracle will give you what you seek. It is becoming more and more discussed that all of us are infected with this mind virus. You have to understand, prior to the internet, communication was very gradual. In fact, you go back 200 years, mind viruses were primarily spread by word of mouth and by then the printed word. Every religious book that has been printed is a virus. It originated as a virus. And you can see the effect. This article here says that, people, because of this virus, are now in agitated states of anxiety, depression, overwhelmingly. BeThinking.com, mind viruses and mimes, thinking errors in a free thinker. There has been much written about this. This came around called, particularly in the first book by Richard Darwin's in 1976, The Selfish Gene. We began to feel that something wasn't quite right. I mean, let's just be honest. We'll get to that. Here's Singularity.com. I suggest every one of you mark this website and you go there at least once a week. If you want to know what's really going on, this is a place to peek in. Superintelligence and the virtues of a hive mind. Yes, Silicon Valley is pushing the hive mind. We're already there. We're in it. Now it's a matter of conditioning you to begin to accept the fact that you're already in it. That's what they're doing. This is an interesting article talking about this very topic. The fact that each of us pride ourselves in our ability of learning, comprehending, remembering, articulating. It gives us a sense of individuality. I contend that ego is required for each and every one of us. It may end up being that ego just very well may save us, because humanity is heading for the road of self-annihilation. That is where we're heading. Whether that is through the process of transhumanism, whether it is through the fact that we would self-inflict such a wound to ourselves. And we look at this because we think that we have this inherent sense of morality that guides us. It's bullshit. You have been conditioned, I have been conditioned to think that. If it worked, there would be no violence. None. No one would lie to each other, deceive, hurt, malign. The Atlantic put out an article, The Hive Mind Singularity. In the near future science fiction novels, human intelligence evolves into a hive mind that makes people the violent cells of a collective being. Some say that that's what this virus has done. I contend that it terraformed the planet. It's not over yet. We think in such finite terms and structures, whereas higher intelligences see sometimes a particular strategy taking tens of thousands of years, maybe even tens of millions, to make the full transformation. But know this, it is well known that this is where we find ourselves. And the reason why we're finding many people, particularly of the millennial demographic group, having such difficult times adapting to this. They have taken the bait, drank the Kool-Aid. They're all in on the technology. What they're finding is what us boomers look back and see and kind of recognize, Unfortunately, going forward from the millennials, those generations are lost. Yeah. If you have grandchildren that have been born recently, they're lost. Just love them while you can at this particular point, because it's already beginning with them. Another article comes in, Keeping Up with AI, Why Humanity Must Cultivate a Hive Mind. They say by pooling our intellectual resources is how humanity will keep ahead of the ever advancing artificial intelligence. We're in the race of our lives, folks. Some could say, this has been in the program a long time ago. All video games, I don't care how benign, how simplistic, they are the virus. It is a contagion every time you plug in. It's altering the very brains of the millennials and the generations down from there. This is a game called the Hive Mind. Interesting website. All I can say, whoever wrote this knew exactly what they were doing. This is how it works, folks. When you pick up this controller, you are literally, it's like having an IV open directly to your mind. These, what we would call in those cages, I call them spiders. They're actually what you would call cells. And those circles, the arrows, remember the brain itself is being reprogrammed. Every time you play one. That's why I got away from the video games. Now, I was really hooked into pinball and foosball. But I began to see something, particularly with Pac-Man. When I figured out the matrix of the Pac-Man game and then the others, I said, whoa, 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 whoa. This is something's going on here. Well, it has far exceeded that. Here is the Hive Mind, another game where you can actually, it's part of the same game. You can go in here. Now, look at this, folks. Read this. So the Hive Mind, part of this game here is called, and this is the enchantment card. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, each other player copies that spell. Each of those players may choose a new target for his or her copy. And when they get hit, they copy it. Yeah. Not making this up. This article is dealing with the interlocking of our brains, like rats in a lab experiment. That's what they've been doing. When Elon Musk talks about neural net 2.0, this is what he's talking about. It's where Google is going, Apple, they're all going there. Facebook, they're spending billions of dollars, hiring the top scientists from leading universities, funding some of the most advanced research, and linking every human mind together. I'm not kidding. So how much longer? That's the question one has to ask before humanity becomes the hive mind. 3 different experts, and this was taken from the same article we were just referencing, all of whom have given this subject considerable thought. Number 1, Kevin Warwick, a British scientist and professor of cybernetics at the University of Reading. Ramez Naim, an American futurist and author of Nexus, a sci-fi novel addressing this topic, and Anders Sandberg, a Swedish neuroscientist from the Future of Humanity Institute at the University of Oxford. Now, folks, remember, when they've got these institutes, someone is writing the check. Big checks. Now, they told this reporter that the possibility of a telepathic noosphere is very real, and it's closer to reality than we might think. And not surprisingly, this would change the very fabric of the human condition, connecting brains. I've thought of it. I went out and meditated on this. What would happen should that ever become a reality? Would our species just go insane? Would we lose what we think is individuality? Some contend that the black boxes that now have stolen our souls, if we have one, definitely have permanently tranced us, where the virus is continually reinforced. How many of you have children? How many hours do they spend on those devices? And regardless of what you think you're doing at home, at school, they're plugged in. Think about it. This article here said we're becoming the Borg. Yes. Talking about communications technology tends to develop at a particular direction. More people communicating across larger distances using less effort to do so. Taken to its logical extreme, perfect communication would be anyone being able to talk to anyone, anywhere, using no effort at all. The closest concept we have to this form of communication is something called the hive mind. Everyone would be connected to everyone telepathically, and we could all share our thoughts, memories, even dreams with one another. Such a system of communication would not only have far-reaching consequences, it would also be hugely controversial. I mean, there's no privacy, folks, not now. But in your head, there's no place to hide. Another article, American Standard. We already have a hive mind. There is a deep connection between the way your brain and a swarm of bees arrives at a decision. We call it collaboration. But it really isn't nothing new. I've been telling you about this over and over, and it's happening now in many different religions. In order for the virus to be effectively positioned, to be able to keep one step ahead of the awakening masses, they have to begin to produce something that they know mankind is already at the point where it cannot release. We cannot live without it. And religion is a mind virus. It's probably one of the most contagious of all. Now, I won't get into all of how the virus immediately begins to work on a person, particularly when they're in an emotional state. It's how the virus is working already. It's conditioning the subject, the victim, to be engrafted even further when they think they're actually finding freedom. Yeah. It's highly synchronized, very refined, and has been executed with perfection for thousands of years. Now, the question really becomes, well, why is it that it seems that most are infected? There's those few that are not, and then the ones who do become infected seem to develop antibodies to the virus. But this is a crafty virus. It has a way of morphing itself, morphing to the individual's mind, seeing how to keep it fully engaged. In the articles, over and over again, a known fact in most science, psychology fields. It is a virus throughout history. All of them, from Hitler, Stalin, Marx, all of them. They knew how to infect. You see, communism, socialism is just another form of a religion. All politics is religion. All built on the very same foundation. No distinguishing aspects to it. When you analyze it and break it down, the two are perfectly aligned. In this particular article, it says that the religion disease convinces its host victims that only religion is a source of meaning or meaningful life in the world, but it discourages its host victims from interacting with non-religious people to learn how they're living and how they find meaning in life. I would say the metaphysical community is just as much of a virus as any organized, doctrinal, theological, ideological concept, idea. It's a problem. We carry the contamination into the latest thing. And then you got people saying, well, you can't be always thinking that your answer lies somewhere else. Well, yeah, let me just tell you what your problem's going to be. You become self-deluded at that point. The virus will begin to self-replicate to what the image that you're projecting. Yeah, class is in session. Individuality is an illusion. It's the bullshit that we're fed that thinks that, well, I'm going to wear this out in public and I'm going to comb my hair this way because this identifies me as an individual. The whole time you're delusional. You think you're different, but the fact that you're doing it, the thinking to be different, to separate from that which you are already and have been and wanted to be a part of. Mind coitus at the highest level. All things are of the hive. All things. There's no escape, baby. Your family, hive. School, hive. Job, hive. Politics, hive. Religion, hive. Eternity, hive concept. Everything. I could have put social media in there. That's the ultimate hive. Oh, we'll get to that. Even birth and death. Hive mentality. No individuals. None. If you want to say that there is potentially a smidgen of hope for individuality, it would be the meat suit you're wearing. Because inside, it's virtually the same. This is where ego comes in. Ego is not bad. In fact, ego, again, is the serum for the ego of the hive. I know it sounds contradictory, but when you look at this in the concept, it shows an inverted torus. Isn't this odd? So what is the hive? A notional entity consisting of a large number of people who share their knowledge or opinions with one another, regarded as producing either uncritical conformity or collective intelligence. A unified consciousness or intelligence formed by a number of either aliens or humans, individuals, the resulting consciousness typically exerting control over its constituent members. Ask yourself, why is it that you do certain things over and over again? Why is it that it seems it's almost impossible to change that? It can be, but why is it so arduously difficult? There's a reason for it. Even NASA recognizes this phenomenon called the mind virus. And folks, when we talk about an alien entity, singularity, consciousness, we think big, massive motherships coming in. Actually, the most, how should I say, destructive, insidious invasion is the one we can't see. The smallest shall rule the largest. The virus lets us know. And the thing about it, humans have proven to be the perfect host. Every human is infected. It's inside of us now. Varying degrees. It's smart, super intelligent, above us. It's true. It lives where we think. That's what makes it so hard to, number one, recognize, two, to identify, and three, to combat. Because we see it as a discussion inside of our heads. Well, Kathy, you can't do that. Well, but I can. I really want to. No, you really shouldn't. You see, we can go through a myriad of different scenarios here. And then it gets even stranger because we lose track because it sounds just like us. It mimics us. That's what a virus does. A virus comes in and inserts its DNA into the host cell. That's why scientists can't figure out who switched the switch in our neurons. Who limited our ability to gain in intelligence? Who limited our ability to gain in years? This was done purposely. This is exactly what happens. This is a virus. It's exactly how they say some of these viruses look. And once it injects the spirochetes into the host will become lullified, pacified in its thinking, never realizing what it's actually doing, carrying out the thought of an alien host. There have been those of the past who knew, who saw. Many of us have been exposed to this. We've seen it in anywhere from Hermetics to the Golden Dawn to Solomonic magic, chaos magic, you name it. But what happened was the virus saw it. And so we become into the thinking, well, it's a great philosophy. Well, it's possible to see. No. And I want to see how many of you are astute. Are you noticing something here? I can't see what's going on in the chat room. And I'm holding this up for a very specific reason and purpose. Look at what's being conveyed here. We've seen this as the supposed all-seeing eye, tied to some imaginary deity that the virus made up for man to think. Now, the thing about it is, this virus began to create us in its image. We always thought that that was of the physical nature, never realizing has nothing to do with the physical at all. It created us in its image. But as with all things, we begin to see. Look at this. This is a depiction of what this virus does. And now I'm showing you. Notice the sigils. It's left clues. I think the humans that were used to communicate these type of messages were trying to send us the proverbial message in a bottle. Look familiar? Yeah, it does, doesn't it? We're going to be visiting this again. Whatever this is, whatever form it is, it morphs. We would call it a changeling. It's of such a higher intelligence. If it is spiritual, it's beyond our comprehension of what spiritual actually is. The best any of us can do, knowing we're going to die, and that we certainly hope that something of us transcends. This is immortal. It has, you could say, no beginning and no end. It is the Alpha, it is the Omega. It is the beginning, it is the end. We are together into the sum total, the mind of this virus. It invades everywhere. We can even notice it, the difference, and see it. As I said, we executed the perfect machine for it. We built it to its specs, and now we've imprisoned all future generations. No escape. People of my generation, we were the last. Minds have seen the complexity of this virus. It's been depicted in many different visions, paintings, thoughts. And what it's led to is the collective consciousness of which we're all part of. We all operate on the collective consciousness. And when you look at collective consciousness to collective intelligence, the CI, that is shared or a group of intelligence that emerges from the collaboration, the collective efforts, and competition of many individuals and appears in the consensus decision making. The term appears in social biology, political science, and in context of mass peer review, even crowdsourcing application. Back in the days when, I was developing systems, we loved a program called Red Hat. It was an open platform where everyone could collaborate. We didn't know it then. But boy, those of us who were there, we now look back and go, oh, crap. We were infected. We didn't know. Metaphysically, we're all at this point reaching ascension. That's the goal. We're going to ascend to the fifth dimension. Really? And who told us that? What was the first person that told us that? That's your carrier. This is a virus. It's a mind virus. No proof, no substantiation, other than what the individual, if that even exists, seems to think. And it keeps us pacified, distracted, because we want to be spiritual. We want to ascend above the madness. Problem is, virtually impossible. Collective consciousness is a set of shared ideologies that bind people together. Yeah. This is, I thought, one of the best graphic designs of what's taking place here. This is what they're doing right now in building the neural net. And you're going to see more and more people rushing to get the implants, to get the neural implants, to begin to get hooked up to the machine, to begin to operating the machine just by thought, because that is really cool. Yeah. Good luck getting out. The collective unconsciousness appears to consist of a mythological motifs or primordial images from which reason the myths of the all nations are as its real as its exponents. Carl Jung knew about this stuff. Few are aware, most do not care. I mean, this is not going to get 1 million views. People don't want to hear this. They run in stark terror. Get this. Military industrial machine. The narrative illusion introduces a mind virus, which is a synthetical contagion that spreads through communicative vectors and colonizes the cognitive basis of the targeted individual psychology, thus transforming the mental processes of that target. James Scott, the Center for Cyber Influence Operations Studies. Do you see what we're doing as a species? We're now using the virus. No escape. I ask you, again, are your thoughts your thoughts? It's becoming very evident that our thoughts are not ours. The Nagus mind, get this, I love this. This may be something for us to talk about more. God is consciousness, not a creator. God is the source of creation itself. It, not he or she, it is not independent of you. It is the totality of everything. So when I call myself God, I am not talking about my personal self. I am talking about the expression of the God self that rests inside of me. The verb, the energy, not the noun. Once you think God is a noun, person, place, or thing, you separate yourself from it and immediately become a limited being. That's what separates the believers, the religious, from the knowers, the spiritual. The goal is to make all minds one mind. James Scott again, Senior Fellow, Center of Cyber Influences Operation Studies. The narrative illusion. We're not even aware how they're doing it, how this virus works. Many of us are going to be now. But the question really becomes, if we could actually give it a classification, would we be able to beat it? What would that look like? What would a human being be like that would be virtually virus-free, apart from the collective intelligence? Because it seems that our whole life, our whole existence is programmed into these subroutines. The military and Silicon Valley know how to increase human intelligence, how to begin to increase exponentially the cognitive skills. We're there. I contend that this would be the new generation of this virus, the next generation, if you want to call it, where every human being is both an emitter and a receiver. Take a look at this, folks. This is called the BCI, the brain-computer interface. This is what they're building it on. All Bluetooth technology, all future technology dealing with mind-machine interfaces. This is how it's being done. This is what you would call the initial blueprint. From there, you can begin to develop any type of new system. With these components, you can literally build, with the right funding. I'm going to close it out here with Wayne Dyer. A mind virus is different in that there's no form to it. There are ideas placed in our heads when we are little. We get programmed by well-meaning people like our parents and their parents, our culture, religions, teachers, immorality, belief systems, and schools. We get conditioned to believe in our limitations and what's not possible. Yeah, well, I hope you found that informative. If you have a counter, love to see your counter. Put it together in a presentation format. Love to see you. Thank you, Richard. That's very humbling. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. It's very kind. Yeah, I mean, that took me hours, folks, to put this together. I mean, I'm talking about 8-9 hours to put all of this together. But I believe that you can see that the contingent in here is that it follows a very well reasonable, logical path. Everything that was discussed here is already in academia, science, the military industrial machine. We're all components of it. Now, maybe discussing this is the way that we can begin to figure out a way out. I believe that once everyone has the same knowledge, and those of you who want the PowerPoint, I'll send it to you. But study it and show me where I'm wrong. Doubt me. That'll be fun. Underestimate me. But seriously, I don't know. It's hard to say when you think about defeating something that mankind, for the masses, never knew about. And so now we're just figuring it out. There's a lot of good books out there on this subject. Many have expanded beyond this. But folks, we've got to begin to definitely think outside of the universe here, at least outside of the Earth a box, because all of our thinking has not resulted in any Shangri-La, any utopia, Elysium. We've had thousands of years to perfect those ideas. What's so hard about living in peace? What's so hard about sharing natural resources that no man can say that he owns? But no, I contend, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why we can't is that this virus is against that. And you explain to me why man hasn't been able to perfect it. Utopia, heaven, Elysium again. Where is the Shangri-Las? Where's the place where we can walk in the cities without being afraid of being attacked, robbed, murdered? No. This is the virus. You look in Washington, D.C., that is the virus. You look at Google, you look at all the tech companies, that's the virus. And regrettably, every one of us are still infected. Appreciate it. Thank you. I will see you all tomorrow. Please give this some serious thought. We'll pick back up in the course where we left off on Thursday. All right, folks. This is serious. We'll just see how well the rest of the community reacts. All right. Bye-bye.